going to the movies today on CNN 10. How many theaters have reopened? How are they reassuring cautious moviegoers? Those are some of the questions we're exploring. I'm Carl Azus. Our first story concerns Marco and Laura, not the kids who sat next to you in biology. These are the names of two storms that are currently circulating in the Gulf of Mexico, and Marco was expected to be the first to make landfall in the United States. That was set to happen Monday night or Tuesday morning. People along the coasts of Louisiana and Texas were preparing for it. The good news is that though Marco was a Category 1 hurricane at one point with wind speeds of at least 74 miles per hour, it had weakened to tropical storm status by Monday. And meteorologists said it could lose even more strength while moving near the U.S. coastline. Still, strong winds, heavy rain, and isolated tornadoes are possible in the region. And forecasters were particularly concerned about storm surge, a rise in seawater levels pushed ashore by major storms. Another system named Laura could make matters worse. When we produced this show, Laura was in the Western Caribbean headed toward the Gulf of Mexico. When it gets there, meteorologists expect Laura will strengthen from tropical storm status to hurricane status. Initial projections estimated that Category 2 levels were possible, which carries wind speeds of at least 96 miles per hour. If Laura stays on track to hit Louisiana, as its likely path indicated, the storm could further complicate any recovery efforts in the state. One thing officials are concerned about is a short window of time between the two storms. Will they be able to help people in need before the second one arrives? How long will the lights be out if Marco knocks out power? Those aren't the only concerns about having two storms in the same region near the same time. Here's CNN 10 contributor Tyler Malden. Tyler.
As if 2020 couldn't get any crazier, Carl, we have been watching the possibility of having two named tropical systems in the Gulf of Mexico at the same time this week. That exact scenario doesn't happen often. Actually, it's only happened two other times since records began. Weather records date all the way back to the mid-19th century. The other occurrences were in 1959 and 1933. So yeah, you could say it's been a while. And there have never been two hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico simultaneously. If we were to see two hurricanes move over those warm waters at the same time, we would surely see this huge, mega behemoth hurricane form, right? Not quite. Let me explain. You see, physics just won't allow that to happen. Hurricanes have both a counterclockwise rotation at one level, we call this cyclonic spin, and at another level, they have a clockwise rotation, known as anti-cyclonic spin. These opposing spins prevent two hurricanes from congealing into a superhurricane. It's like trying to force the same ends of a magnet to attract. It won't happen. The two will always repel. So is the same with two hurricanes. Also, under certain rare situations, something known as the Fujiwara effect will occur. It's a meteorological phenomenon discovered in the early 1920s, and it says when two hurricanes get within a certain proximity of each other, the two will begin revolving in a circle. Again, imagine two magnets repelling and bouncing off each other. If the two get closer and closer, the stronger hurricane will cause the smaller one to weaken. If the two are similar in strength, both will weaken. So the one thing you will not get out of it, Carl, is a mega hurricane forming. That's at least one less thing for you to worry about this year.
10-second trivia. Which of these movies became the first summer blockbuster according to Guinness World Records? Gone with the Wind, Jaws, Jurassic Park, or Titanic? In 1975, Jaws became the first film to earn $100 million at the box office. Before Jaws, Hollywood didn't really consider summer the best season to release movies. It invested more in winter releases. Jaws helped change that, and some of the highest grossing movies in history have been summer releases. This summer, though, like so many other things this year, is different. Before COVID arrived, there were 6,000 places in North America where you could see a new movie on the big screen. An estimated 1,400 of them have reopened within the past couple weeks. And people's reactions are all over the map, literally. Some folks are chomping at the bit to chomp down on some oil-popped popcorn. Some are avoiding theaters because of concerns about coronavirus. And some are staying home because they prefer watching on their TVs or mobile devices anyway. I just found out that Jurassic Park is playing at a theater near me. But Carl, you might be thinking, Jurassic Park came out in 1993. Right. But showing older summer blockbusters is one way in which theaters are hoping to rekindle Americans' love for the movies. Is it safe and will it work? Are the dinosaurs in the room?
More than 70 million people in the United States go to the movies each week to get away from their cares and to find entertainment.
Some Americans are finally able to go back to the movies, with many new caveats. Struggling theater chains have scrambled to implement new rules and new technology to get moviegoers safely back in their seats.
Say, Kay, next Friday, would you like to see Wagon Train at the movies?
But experts have long known COVID-19 spreads more easily indoors and can often be the source of outbreaks. So, is it safe to go back to movie theaters again? Here's what we know.
It wouldn't be something I would go out and recommend. What I can say is this, it all depends on how it's done.
Social distancing is vital. Movie theaters have to abide by state and local guidelines, which often require masks. AMC, for one, is limiting all theaters' capacity to 40% or less, and in many cases, blocking every other row. But even with these measures in place, experts say to avoid movie theaters if your community has a high number of cases.
How much spread is in the community is essential. If you are in Georgia at case rates of 30 per 100,000, Florida, some counties, case rates of 50 per 100,000. I'm sorry, I enjoy the movies. You got no business going to the movies in those places. So first, you really need to make sure that you're not swimming in a sea of COVID before you start going to the movies.
Some health experts do argue that the nature of moviegoing could potentially limit the spread of the virus, compared to, say, eating out at a restaurant. In a theater, everyone is facing the same direction, rather than each other, and they aren't talking. That could limit the spread of airborne particles from one person to another, especially if everyone is wearing a mask. But what about snacks?
We can't eat popcorn and be masked. They're just simply mutually exclusive. If you are touching something and then putting popcorn in your mouth, that just is a bad idea.
That could spell trouble for movie theater chains, given the high profit margin they stand to make on concessions. As for air quality, experts say air filtration is becoming increasingly important as growing evidence points to the significant role airborne particles play in spreading the virus. Theaters like AMC have said they're upgrading their system's air filters.
We actually know that there's not a lot of transmission that happens on an airplane. So if you kind of think of a movie theater like an airplane, are they exchanging the air very, very frequently, which happens on an airplane? I know they've done a lot to try and improve the filters. How is the ventilation? How often is that air being exchanged in that room? Because if it's not being exchanged very, very often, the way they are in planes, then that's probably a problem.
Behind the scenes, movie chains say they'll be increasing their cleaning procedures, sometimes cleaning theaters between each showing.
Here's what you can expect when you arrive.
But according to AMC's CEO, the cost of these additional safety measures will likely be passed on to moviegoers in the form of higher ticket or concession prices. That's a problem when movie studios are beginning to skip the theaters and release certain movies directly to consumers streaming from the safety of their own home. For theaters, the pandemic's prolonged shutdowns means some chains could be facing bankruptcy, so the stakes couldn't be higher.
Could this be the biggest painting ever put on canvas? Yes. Is it realism? No. But it does incorporate real art from kids. This is being painted in the ballroom of a luxury hotel. It's about the size of 4 basketball courts. It's expected to be finished next month, shared around the world, and then cut up into 60 individual panels, which will be auctioned off for charity. The artist hopes it'll raise $30 million to help children in need. So it appears the master work will be cut to masterpieces, but at $500,000 per panel, buyers may need to get leases. You could never hang the whole work up. It's the size of a landmass. Is it worth the weight and paint it takes to cover art that canvas? I'm Carl Azus for CNN 10. You know you can watch our show anytime at CNN10.com, but if you subscribe and comment on our YouTube channel, you could get a chance for your school to be mentioned, like New Bern High School in New Bern, North Carolina.